Embracing discipline as a form of freedom may sound like a contradiction at first, because in most people's minds, discipline is associated with rigidity, control, even punishment. But that is only because we have misunderstood the true nature of discipline. Discipline is not about restriction, it is about alignment. It is not about forcing life into a certain mold, but about flowing in the right direction with clarity and purpose. For a woman who wishes to live her best life, discipline is not something to be imposed from the outside. It must come from within, like a song that is sung in rhythm with the universe. Look at anything that functions at its peak in existence, whether it is the planets revolving around the sun or the body of a dancer in full motion. What you will see is not chaos, but a certain order, a certain geometry. That geometry is discipline. Without it, beauty cannot sustain itself. Without it, power becomes destructive. So discipline, in its true sense, is a form of grace. When a woman chooses discipline, she is not choosing suffering, she is choosing alignment with her highest possibility. Now, there is a difference between imposed discipline and conscious discipline. Imposed discipline comes from fear, from trying to control, from outside expectations. But conscious discipline is a commitment to one's own growth, one's own well-being. It is an act of love, not suppression. When you eat with awareness, speak with intention, act with focus, and think with clarity, you are living in conscious discipline. This is not about being perfect. This is about being aware of your patterns and choosing what nourishes your life instead of what drains it. The problem is, most people want freedom without realizing that the only path to true freedom is through discipline. Without discipline, what you call freedom becomes chaos. You eat what you want, sleep when you feel like it, say whatever comes to mind, and soon you will find yourself enslaved to habits, to emotional swings, to societal drama. A disciplined woman, however, becomes untouchable in the best sense. She is not a slave to her mood or to the whims of the world. She knows what must be done, and she does it not because someone is watching, but because she is watching herself. Discipline also creates a certain sharpness in life. Just like a knife becomes effective only when it is well honed, a human being becomes powerful only when there is focus. Without discipline, your energy becomes scattered. You may do 100 things, but nothing will go deep. With discipline, even a single act becomes potent. Whether it is a morning ritual, a dedicated time to learn, or simply sitting in silence daily, discipline brings depth. It transforms ordinary moments into gateways for inner growth. Another aspect is emotional discipline. For many, emotions are like waves. They come, they go, they crash, but emotions are not meant to rule you. They are meant to move through you. When a woman cultivates emotional discipline, she learns to observe her inner weather without getting lost in every storm. She learns when to speak and when to stay silent, when to hold space and when to walk away. This doesn't mean she suppresses her emotions, it means she channels them. Her anger becomes a tool for justice, not destruction. Her love becomes boundless, not needy. Her sadness becomes reflective, not overwhelming. That is the strength of discipline. It gives you a choice. Time is another place where discipline brings freedom. When you value your time and structure your day with awareness, you begin to experience time differently. You are no longer rushed, scattered, or exhausted. You are present, clear, and effective. This doesn't mean becoming robotic. It means being so present in each moment that life itself becomes richer. When a woman decides how to use her time instead of being pulled by every demand, she becomes the creator of her reality, not just a participant. Discipline also applies to what we consume, not just in terms of food, but media, conversations, energy. If you are constantly consuming noise, negativity, or distraction, how can you expect your mind to be clear or your heart to be light? A woman living her best life becomes selective not out of arrogance, but out of understanding. She knows what feeds her soul and what steals her peace, and she adjusts accordingly. This is discipline as self-respect. In truth, the most radiant, joyful, and free women are not those who live without boundaries, but those who have chosen their boundaries consciously. They have created a structure within which their creativity, energy, and love can flourish. Without that structure, all the gifts they hold would dissipate. Discipline is not a cage, it is the vessel that holds the nectar of life. When you embrace it not as a rulebook, but as a path to mastery, you begin to experience a life speak less. Observe more. This is not just a communication technique. It is a way of being. In the rush to express, to explain, to assert our opinions, we often miss the finer layers of life unfolding around us. Words have become cheap, spoken in excess, often without clarity or depth. But silence, true silence, has an intelligence of its own. A woman who speaks less and observes more is not silent because she is weak. She is silent because she is watching, absorbing, and understanding what others often overlook. There is immense power in observation. When you observe, you learn the nature of people, situations, even your own inner patterns. You begin to see without distortion. Most people see through the lens of their emotions, their conditioning, their past experiences. But when you cultivate the capacity to observe without judgment, something opens up within you, a doorway to true perception. You see not only what is being said, but what is not being said. You read body language, energy, the unsaid feelings behind a smile or a gesture. This level of sensitivity is not weakness, it is profound strength. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. In a world that is constantly shouting, the one who speaks with precision and presence stands out effortlessly. There is no need to speak to be noticed. There is a quiet confidence that arises when you know you don't have to prove anything. This confidence is not rooted in ego, but in awareness. You are no longer trying to fill the silence, because silence is no longer uncomfortable for you, it is your ally. It is in this silence that your intuition becomes sharper, your mind becomes clearer, and your decisions become wiser. Observation also brings understanding. You begin to notice patterns not only in others but in yourself. You notice how your thoughts arise, how your emotions behave, how your reactions are triggered. This is the beginning of self-mastery. A woman who observes herself is on the path to transformation. She does not justify her flaws, she understands them. She does not fight her emotions, she studies them. She becomes the scientist and the subject, the witness and the experience. In this observation, transformation happens naturally, not because she is forcing change, but because she is seeing clearly. In relationships, the ability to observe more and speak less brings depth. Most conflicts are not born from real issues, but from misunderstanding, from reacting without seeing. When you are truly listening not just to the words, but to the energy, the emotion, the space between the words, you respond differently. You respond with awareness, not with habit. You stop needing to be right and start choosing to be real. Observation allows empathy to arise. When you are not busy trying to make your point, you can truly see the other person. This is where connection becomes deep, not just pleasant. To speak less does not mean to suppress your voice. It means to use your voice with purpose. Every word becomes a conscious offering, not a reaction. Your words are like seeds once spoken, they grow into something. A woman who knows this speaks carefully. She knows when to be silent and when to roar. Her silence is not absence, it is presence. Her speech is not noise, it is impact. This habit also brings a deep inner stillness. When you are not constantly caught in the need to speak, to express, to be seen, a certain peace settles within you. The mind becomes quieter and the inner space becomes clearer. It is in this quiet that clarity arises, not through analysis, but through simple presence. The answers you seek are often drowned in the noise of your own thoughts. When you observe more, you begin to hear those answers not from outside, but from deep within. Even in the external world, observation is a powerful tool. Whether you are navigating a business meeting, walking through a market, or sitting with friends, the ability to observe gives you insight. You begin to sense timing, flow, opportunity. You are no longer acting blindly. Your actions come from a space of knowing, not guessing. This makes you effective, graceful, and often unpredictable in the most powerful way. To observe is to be fully present. Most people are distracted, not here. Their body is in one place, their mind in another. But a woman who observes is completely here. She is rooted in the moment, aware of her surroundings, attuned to the subtle. This makes her magnetic. People may not understand why they are drawn to her, but they feel her presence. It is not loud, but it is undeniable. Her power lies not in what she says, but in what she perceives. To nourish the body as a sacred temple is not a ritual, it is a recognition. A recognition that the body is not separate from who you are. It is the very vehicle through which you experience life. Every thought, every emotion, every action you perform in the world is filtered through this physical structure. If this body is neglected, misused, or treated with disregard, everything else becomes distorted. A woman who lives her best life understands this truth, not intellectually, but experientially. She moves with a sense of reverence toward her own body, not out of vanity, but out of gratitude. This body is not merely skin, bones, and flesh. It is a miraculous organization of intelligence. It takes in food, water, and air, and transforms them into energy, vitality, and life. If you observe closely, you will realize that you don't run this body, it runs you. The breath comes and goes without your permission. The heart beats without needing a reminder. There is a deeper intelligence operating this machine. To nourish this machine is to honor that intelligence. When you eat, it is not just about filling the stomach. It is about giving life to life. Every bite can either become a source of health or a source of disease. The choice is not just nutritional, it is spiritual. The way you sit, the way you stand, the way you breathe, the way you walk, all of these are expressions of how connected you are to your body. Most people use the body like a tool, a utility, something to be pushed, shaped, or fixed only when it breaks. But when you see the body as a temple, everything changes. You don't eat just for taste, you eat for energy. You don't move just for appearance, you move for vitality. You don't rest out of exhaustion, you rest out of awareness. This shift is not about strict rules or rigid routines. It is about deep listening. To nourish the body means to become sensitive to its signals. Not every craving is a truth. Not every hunger is a need. Sometimes the body asks for water, but the mind offers sugar. Sometimes the body asks for movement, but the mind chooses the couch. In such moments, the woman who lives her best life does not punish herself, she simply watches, adjusts, and aligns. She understands that the body is a living partner, not a slave. She does not abuse it with neglect or overindulgence. She finds a sacred balance. Physical health is the foundation for everything else. When the body is strong, the mind becomes clearer, emotions settle more easily, and one's spiritual possibility opens up naturally. But health is not just the absence of illness. Health is vibrancy, it is lightness. It is a sense of aliveness in every cell. To nourish the body is to cultivate this vibrancy through conscious living, whole foods, pure water, natural movement, deep rest, sunlight, breath. These are not luxuries. They are the building blocks of a luminous life. The way you treat your body also reflects the way you see yourself. If you constantly ignore your needs, override your fatigue, or indulge in what numbs rather than nourishes, you are sending yourself a message that your well-being is secondary. But when you prepare a meal with care, when you stretch with awareness, when you choose to breathe deeply instead of scrolling mindlessly, you are declaring something powerful, that you are worthy of care, presence, and respect. In many traditions, the body has always been regarded as a temple, a sacred space in which the divine can dwell. Whether you see it spiritually or scientifically, the principle remains: if you pollute the temple, the energy will fall. If you clean the temple, the energy will rise. A woman who understands this does not need a special occasion to take care of herself. Every day is a ritual. Every act becomes sacred: brushing the hair, massaging the skin, choosing what to wear, drinking a glass of warm water. These are not tasks, these are offerings. Even rest becomes intentional. In a world that glorifies hustle, to rest consciously is revolutionary, not out of laziness, but out of respect for the instrument that allows you to live, love, and create. When the body is rested, it repairs, rejuvenates, and returns stronger. Sleep is not a shutdown, it is a reset. And when you see sleep this way, you begin to create the space for it with care, the way you would prepare for a sacred ceremony. The relationship with your body is your first relationship. Before the world sees you, you feel yourself. When this feeling is one of respect, love, and gratitude, it radiates outward. People can sense it, even if they cannot explain it. It is not about having a perfect body, it is about having an alive body, an aware body. Detach from drama, attach to Dharma. These words hold a profound instruction for those who seek not just peace, but purpose. In the world today, drama is everywhere. It is in the way people speak, in the way they relate, in how they react, in what they consume. Social media feeds on it, relationships get tangled in it, and the mind becomes addicted to it. But drama, at its core, is a distraction. It keeps the energy locked in cycles of reaction, complaint, and chaos. A woman who lives her best life learns to recognize drama not just outside, but within, and steps away from it not with arrogance, but with clarity. Drama is born from identification with roles, opinions, memories, and desires. It feeds on the need to be right, to be seen, to be heard, to be validated. When you are identified with these layers, every situation becomes personal. Every word is a wound, every disagreement a battle. But when you begin to step back and watch, when you begin to ask, is this really worth my energy? Something shifts. You realize that peace is not found in avoiding problems, but in not turning every problem into a performance. Detachment is not disinterest, it is the ability to engage without being consumed. Attaching to Dharma is the natural result of such detachment. Dharma is not a moral code, it is not a rigid duty, it is the path of alignment. It is when your actions arise from inner clarity, not outer confusion. It is the quiet knowing of what is right for you, even when it is not convenient, even when it is not popular. When a woman aligns with her Dharma, she stops asking what the world expects of her, and starts listening to what life is calling her to do. This is not about rebellion, it is about authenticity. Dharma is different for each one. For some, it is to create. For others, to serve, to teach, to lead, to heal, to nurture. It is not something you figure out intellectually. It is something you feel in the deepest part of your being. But you can only feel it when there is silence within. Drama creates noise. It drowns out the subtle voice of your truth. That is why stepping away from drama is not about becoming passive, it is about becoming available. Available to truth, available to grace. A woman who detaches from drama and attaches to Dharma becomes centered. She stops wasting energy trying to control how others see her or behave with her. She does not need to win arguments, she is too busy winning her own inner battles. She does not need to gossip because she is too engaged with her growth. She does not need to compare because she is rooted in her own path. There is a stillness in her, not because life is perfect, but because she has stopped dancing with every distraction. Drama often disguises itself as passion, but true passion is silent and deep, not noisy and scattered. When you are truly passionate about your purpose, you do not have time to entertain chaos. Your focus becomes sacred. Your boundaries become clear. Your life becomes a temple, not a theater. This is not about isolation, it is about elevation. You begin to attract those who value peace over performance, depth over drama, sincerity over spectacle. There is also emotional freedom in this detachment. You no longer allow every situation to hijack your mind. You learn to watch your emotions without letting them dictate your actions. This is not suppression, this is mastery. It means you feel deeply, but act wisely. You speak only when the words are needed, not when the ego is wounded. You walk away, not out of fear, but out of strength. Your Dharma becomes your compass, and that compass keeps you steady even when the winds of life blow wildly. This way of living also sharpens your discernment. You begin to see clearly what uplifts and what entangles. You become selective, not judgmental, but intentional. Not everything that is loud deserves your attention. Not every invitation to chaos requires a response. The more you walk in Dharma, the more you recognize the power of simplicity. You learn that real joy is not found in the spotlight, but in alignment. That real strength is not in reacting, but in choosing your response with awareness. When drama falls away and Dharma becomes central, life becomes lighter, you carry less, you need less, you pretend less. There is an ease in your breath, a clarity in your vision. You are no longer pulled in 1,000 directions because you know your direction. You are no longer trying to prove because you are living your truth. Surrounding yourself with soul, nourishing energy is not just about avoiding negativity, it is about consciously choosing the environment that elevates your inner state. Every space you enter, every person you interact with, every conversation you engage in, it all leaves an imprint on your energy. Just as you would not drink dirty water or eat spoiled food, you must become just as selective with the energy you allow into your field. A woman who lives her best life understands that her growth is not only internal, but also deeply influenced by her external ecosystem. Energy is contagious. You can feel it even before words are spoken. Some people walk into a room and immediately bring light, ease, inspiration. Others bring heaviness, confusion, or chaos. This is not about judging others, but about recognizing how energy flows and affects you. When you are in the presence of people who are authentic, kind, growth-oriented, and peaceful, your own energy begins to rise without effort. Your spirit feels safe to expand. Your heart feels more open. Your ideas flow with ease. These are signs that the energy around you is soul, nourishing. It is not only about people. The spaces you inhabit also hold energy. Your home, your workplace, the places you frequent, each one either supports your inner peace or disrupts it. A cluttered room, a chaotic schedule, or a toxic environment can slowly drain your vitality without you even realizing it. That's why it's essential to create environments that reflect your highest state. Clean spaces, natural light, beauty, simplicity, these are not luxuries, they are extensions of your inner clarity. When your outer world becomes aligned, your inner world finds more harmony. Soul-nourishing energy also comes from what you consume mentally and emotionally. The media you watch, the books you read, the music you listen to, all of these are food for the mind. Just as junk food can slow down the body, mental junk food clutters the mind. When a woman becomes aware of this, she begins to curate her content with care. She chooses inspiration over outrage, depth over distraction, silence over noise. Her inputs become intentional, and slowly her thoughts become lighter, more expansive, more rooted in truth. The same applies to the conversations you engage in. Some conversations uplift, clarify, and connect. Others drain, confuse, and divide. Not every discussion deserves your voice. Not every conflict needs your participation. A woman who surrounds herself with soul-nourishing energy becomes wise in her words. She speaks not to be heard, but to bring light. She listens not to reply, but to understand. She walks away from gossip, judgment, and shallow talk not because she is better, but because she knows her energy is precious. Boundaries become an essential part of this process. Not rigid walls, but conscious filters. You begin to sense who aligns with your peace and who disturbs it. You don't need to push anyone away, you simply step back when something feels out of alignment. You spend more time with those who reflect the qualities you wish to grow in your: self-compassion, creativity, truthfulness, joy. You become more discerning, not closed, more open-hearted, not naive. This subtle clarity in relationships becomes a powerful foundation for your best life. It's also important to recognize that soul-nourishing energy can come from within. Nature, solitude, creativity, meditation, these are powerful sources of renewal. When you spend time in nature, you reconnect with a rhythm that is pure and grounding. When you create, whether through writing, music, art, or any form of expression, your soul finds its voice. When you sit in silence, you hear your own truth. These practices are not escapism, they are sacred returns. They help you come back to yourself again and again, no matter how noisy the world becomes. A woman who understands this makes space for such nourishment daily. Not once a year, not once in crisis, but as a way of life. She does not wait for others to bring her peace. She becomes the source of it. Her energy becomes magnetic not because she tries, but because she is aligned. She becomes a mirror for others, showing what it means to live consciously, to love deeply, and to protect one's inner light with care. Over time, something beautiful begins to happen. As she surrounds herself with soul-nourishing energy, her life begins to reflect that vibration. Opportunities, relationships, and experiences that resonate with her truth start to flow naturally. She no longer chases, she attracts. She no longer fights, she flows. Her outer world becomes a reflection of her inner world.